Today I am going to tackle this bed where I have my zinnias, my butternut, squash growing on top of that trellis. My zinnias are definitely done for this season, at least on this raised bed. I really did not put any attention to them. I just gave them water and they just kind of got sick with powder and mildew, and this is pretty much what it happens. This is how they look like. So today I'm just going to remove all of these plants. These plants are sick, so I am just going to take them all into the trash cans, and I am just going to leave the butternut squash vines that are growing up on the trellis, because while I'm going to harvest all of the fruit that is ready, and I'm just going to leave them alone. But I am very happy with how they did here. Being on the west side of the house, they get shade until the afternoon time, and then from there they just get a few hours of sun. So for that limited amount of time, I think that they did very well. And I am also really happy with how the zinnias did. I cut a bunch of flowers, like a bunch of blooms from them this summer, and I think that they did pretty well.
Oh my God! I painted those a long time ago. Those pumpkins. Pumpkin portions.
I was anticipating a lot more fruit from my butternut squash vines, but you know what? I'm okay. This is perfectly okay. This is going to give me a few meals or a few sweets that I'm going to be making with them. There's still a lot of fruit on the vine, so I'm not going to remove those because I just want to see how they do for the rest of the season. But the zinnias that I am removing from this bed, they are sick. So I am just going to take them all into the trash cans because I don't want any of these sick plants to make it into the whatever composting piles that the city makes. For those of you that wonder what I do with all of the brush, with all of the dead plants or dead branches that I collect from my garden whenever I am doing cleanup or anything like that, the city where I live, they collect on trash day. There is a special truck that drives around the main streets and they collect brush or stuff that you collect from the trees, from your shrubs and things like that. So all we have to do as the residents here, we have to make small piles because they really, what is the word, crush or shred those branches or that debris, that plant debris, into like mulch. So I'm not really exactly sure what they do with it, but I have a feeling that they go back into the city, into the landscape, and I do not want to give them these powdery mildew filled plants or filled foliage to go into that. So I'm just going to throw this in the trash. And but most of my stuff really, if it's nice and healthy that I remove from shrubs and trees, they just go into that truck. But I am going to finish cleaning this bed. I am going to finish removing a lot of my zinnias. Right now is the time for cleaning up whatever it is that I still have a lot of things that look amazing. And I should probably order a new trash bag because this guy is definitely struggling. So let's get. The veggie rose that I have growing on this trellis, you guys, it is really, really loving where it's at right now. It is growing a little bit too fast for me, but I have been trimming here, especially the side where the door is, because it just kind of wanna takes over this little spot. I don't know how well it's going to do here next year, because if this is how it grew the first year, I don't know how much vigorous and stronger it's going to do for next year. But I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I can always move it next year if needed. But I'm just going to give it one more season here, and maybe next year in the spring I'll just trim it plenty to see how it does. This year my nasturtiums are just wow. They are really, really thriving right now. I feel like with the somewhat cooler temperatures that we have been getting the last couple of weeks, they just kind of are able to breathe. They are, honestly, they're doing amazing. And I don't know if you remember, but the planters, the corten steel planters that I have here, they were filled with fresh, rich soil that I use for my raised beds. And all of those nutrients are probably one of the reasons why these nasturtiums are just doing so amazing. Even though September is a month of the garden already declining, already almost being done for the season, I still get a lot of harvest from my raised beds. I still got tomatoes, jalapenos, poblanos. I have a bunch of beets still producing for me. I love growing beets the way that I do, because I can just come here and harvest as needed. And while the raised beds may not look like their best right now, I am still getting a bunch of fruit from them. One of the things that I did differently this year as far as my basil goes is that instead of harvesting the leaves like I normally would in past years, of coming and just picking up leaves, the leaves that I wanted to use, that day. Instead of doing that, I realized that it was not helping my plant. If I just come here and pick the leaves, they're not really going to stop the plant from going to seed, from going to flower. So what I have been doing is that I find an area where I have 2 sets of leaves or 2 sets of branches coming, and that's where I cut or where I pinch the plant. And instead of just taking a few leaves, like if all I need are these leaves, I just take the branch instead of just taking the leaves. And this helps basil to keep producing, to keep wanting to get bushier, and it will stop your basil plants from going to flower. So instead of going to flower, you get a longer time of just foliage. All of my basil plants look like this. They honestly look amazing in my perception of growing basil. Because in past years, I will grow basil at the beginning of the spring, and then later I will have to keep on planting more seeds, direct sowing, or doing more transplants of basil. And it was just a constant work. But this year, I just really wanted to try that. I wanted to pinch my basil plants. And honestly, this has been working really, really well. The mosquitoes are insane right now, so I'm going to cut this video short. I still have a few things to do. I mean, there is a lot of things to do, but as far as this video goes, this is it for today. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this video, my neighbors are outside. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments, and thank you for being here.